Vulcan Flyovers offers scenic overflights of Mount St. Helens, the volcano in Washington state that explosively erupted in 1982. Data concerning the company's operations in July appear below. The company measures its activity in terms of flights. Customers can buy individual tickets for overflights or hire an entire plane for an overflight at a discount. Prepare a flexible budget performance report for July. Which of the variances should be of concern to management? Our planning budget was based on original expectations of 50 flights. Our actual results were for only 48 flights, so we prepare a flexible budget based on our actual activity level of 48 flights. Let's go ahead and examine our activity variances. Overall, our activity variance was 2 flights, which was unfavorable, since again, the actual number of flights that we flew, 48, was less than our original plan of 50 flights. This means that our revenue variance will also be unfavorable, and it'll be $640 unfavorable, which is the difference between our original planned revenues of $16,000 and our flexible budget revenues of $15,360. Since our activity levels were less than we originally planned, all of our expenses will also be less than or equal to our original planned budget. So all of our expense variances will end up being favorable from an activity perspective. The difference between our flexible budget wages and salary expense of $7,936 and our original budget of $8,100 is $164. And again, since our flexible budget is less than original plan, it's a favorable variance. The difference in fuel is $46. And again, since our flexible budget expense is less than our original planned expenses, it's a favorable variance. The difference between our airport fees on our flexible budget and our planning budget is $76. And once again, the flexible budget is less, so it's a favorable variance. For aircraft depreciation, we have a $14 favorable variance. And for office supplies expense, we have a $4 favorable variance. Again, since our activity level was less than we had originally planned, by definition, our revenue variance will be unfavorable and all of our expense variances will be favorable. Overall, the total expense variance is $304, which is the sum of the individual variances, and the variance is favorable. The variance for net operating income is the difference between our original plan budget of $3,560 and our flexible budget of $3,224. And since our flexible budget is less than our original plan, it's an unfavorable variance. We could have found this same $336 variance by taking the difference between our $640 unfavorable revenue variance and our $304 favorable expense variance. Let's now go ahead and look at our revenue and spending variances. Our revenue variance is the difference between our actual revenues of $13,650 and our flexible budget revenues of $15,360. The difference is $1,710, and since our actual revenues are less than our flexible budget, in other words, our revenues at 48 flights were less than they should have been by $1,710, this is an unfavorable variance. Our wages and salary expenses are $494 more than our flexible budget amount. And since our expenses are more than our flexible budget amount, we would say the expense variance is unfavorable. Our fuel expenses of $1,260 are $156 more than our flexible budget. So again, it's an unfavorable variance. For airport fees, however, our actual expense of $2,350 is less than our flexible budget amount by $124. And since our expense is less than our flexible budget amount, we would say it's a favorable variance. Aircraft depreciation, there's no difference. For office expenses, our actual expenses were $174 more than our flexible budget, so we would say it's an unfavorable variance. Overall, our expense variance is $700, and since our actual expenses were greater than our flexible budget amount, This is an unfavorable variance. Our total variance for net operating income can be found by the difference between our actual net operating income of $814 and our flexible budget of $3,224. And since our actual net operating income is less, it's an unfavorable variance. We could have found this unfavorable variance of $2,400 also by taking our unfavorable revenue variance of $1,710 and adding to it our unfavorable expense variance of $700.